I hope I don't end up regretting this. Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here. Yes, it's that time of year again. Apple just put up the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro for pre-order, and you read the title. I just bought myself an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, every time I make one of these videos, like, they're pretty popular. People want to know why I ordered this certain iPhone, the specifications I got on it, and you all have a lot of interest knowing like the purchasing decisions behind this phone. And if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you might actually think that this purchasing decision is a little bit strange because last year I was really in love with the iPhone 13 mini, but I kind of settled on the iPhone 13 Pro for my needs because I really liked the camera system inside of that phone. And because I couldn't have the mini, I went for the smaller sized regular iPhone 13 Pro. And I really, really enjoyed that phone. It is right here. It has been my trusty sidekick this past year. We have gone through a lot together, my friend, but you're about to be replaced. I apologize for that. So this phone has been amazing. This is probably, honestly, and this is gonna sound like so cliche, because obviously the phones get better and better every year. This is probably the best iPhone experience overall that I have had ever. I have very little complaints about this phone. It is fast, apps stay open in the background really long. The battery life at first on this thing was amazing. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And the camera system on the 13 Pro. Listen, the main camera on this is excellent. The video quality, some of the videos I've shot on this are so good. It's like, why am I even using this big camera to shoot these videos at this point? Like, I really do love this phone, and I love the Sierra blue color as well. There's just so much about this phone, so many good things I can say about it. There was a lot of small changes from the 12 Pro to the 13 Pro that really made this phone shine. So why am I going for the 14 Pro Max? And I think that's the important distinction here. This is the regular 13 Pro. I just told you how much I liked it, how much I liked the smaller size. So why am I going for a bigger 6.7-inch 14 Pro Max? Well, it has to do with a couple different things, and some of them might be kind of unwarranted fears at this point, but I guess we'll have to wait and see until the phones actually get here. So again, really like this phone. And I mentioned that the battery life at first on this thing was great. I had zero issues getting through an entire day of use with my 13 Pro. However, as this phone aged and as I installed the iOS 16 beta, which might be my own fault, right? Like, most normal people aren't installing a beta onto their phone. I noticed that the battery life on this phone actually really started to tank. And, again, battery life on a beta is going to be worse. There's a lot of background processes happening. The beta itself isn't fully optimized for the phone yet until it's released to the public. So battery life is initially just going to it's going to tank anyway on any beta with any phone. The battery life's going to be bad. But when I actually went into the settings and looked at the battery health of my 13 Pro, I was kind of shocked by how much the battery degraded. Again, it had the beta on it, so maybe I shouldn't be shocked, but it was at 90% battery health. And maybe that was just like a rough beta period with iOS 16, but I've put betas on my phones before. I did that when I had my iPhone 12 Pro Max, and the battery health on that, I think, degraded only to about 95% by the time I was done with it. So to see that kind of go down to 90% and to kind of experience like really bad battery life on the iOS 16 beta, where basically I had to charge this thing like halfway through the day to make it through a day. Like, I could not run this thing on the beta through a full day of use. It just wasn't happening. So it kind of really messed up my expectations of what battery life should be on this phone. And I'm sure if I got a regular size 14 Pro, I am sure the battery life would be fine. It would probably be like my initial experience with this 13 Pro, and especially if I didn't install any betas onto it, I am sure the battery life would hold up pretty well. So again, that doesn't exactly cover why I went for the 14 Pro Max. There are other reasons behind this besides battery life fears of being on a beta. And that mostly has to do with the iPhone 14 Pro Max's new camera system. Now, the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max have the same camera system, but again, the 14 Pro Max is going to have better battery life. And the camera features that Apple announced for this year really made me start to question going forward how I was going to implement the iPhone into my daily workflow for recording, YouTube videos. And a lot of the features they showed off, like the action mode where you get like this super smooth shot and you don't need a gimbal, or upgrading the cinematic mode. Now it's gonna do 4K and it's gonna support 24 frames per second, which is usually what I shoot these videos at. That made me even more excited to really use this iPhone as a tool in my professional workflow. And no matter how good battery life is on these phones, there are certain use cases where you can really abuse the battery life and you can make it last for not that long, right? Like if you're using intensive features like gaming or taking photos and especially video all day long, that is really going to peg the battery life. So when I was looking between these two phones of the smaller 14 Pro and this bigger 14 Pro Max, that was probably the biggest part of my decision making of deciding to go for a larger phone this year. Was I wanted as much battery as possible, not really to get me through a full day of normal use. Again, I think the normal size phone would definitely do that, but it was to cover more extreme use cases. If I really took this phone out and started shooting, all day with it with some of these video modes, I am sure on the normal size 14 Pro, it might not last me through an entire day comfortably. I might have to charge it halfway through the day. And if I have that Pro Max, I'm hoping I'm not going to run into any battery issues. Now, I'm not just getting the 14 Pro Max just for production reasons for this channel. I also plan to use the bigger battery and perhaps the bigger phone display size for personal use as well. And I think that really, what I really want this phone for is for travel. So that's another thing that can kind of really drain your battery life. You're traveling to different areas, you're constantly hopping between different cell towers. If you have poor signal in an area, that's gonna drain your battery faster. And just if you're like taking trips, if you're on a plane, you might not have time to top off your phone charge during some of these trips, or maybe you just don't even wanna worry about battery management. So I'm personally planning a lot more trips in 2023. I don't know if that will actually happen, but I am personally in my head right now planning more trips being away from the studio in 2023. And I think having the better battery life will be very beneficial for that. But I also think having a bigger display will also be good for that. Like I've been kind of falling out of love with the iPad recently, and I've just really been using a combination of something like a MacBook and an iPhone. So having a iPhone with more screen real estate could prove beneficial when I'm traveling if I decide not to bring an iPad along with me. Another thing that I'm really kind of hope with this iPhone, especially on the Pro Max, is that new dynamic island feature. It was another consideration I made when deciding between all of these phones because, listen, Apple did release a new iPhone 14 and a iPhone 14 Plus this time around. And I was almost kind of wondering, I was looking at the iPhone 14 Plus and wondering, how good of a phone is that going to be? Like, could I get by with going for the 14 Plus with the bigger 6.7-inch display, possibly the best battery life on any iPhone, and it's aluminum, right? So a lot of my concerns, which I'll get to at the end of this video with the 14 Pro Max, would be that it's too heavy and it's too big. And with a 14 Plus, it's still going to be big, but having the aluminum would actually make it lighter. So that might have actually been my ideal phone this year. But when I saw the dynamic island feature on the Pro phones this year, that really swayed my purchasing decision to really stick with the Pro models. When I first started thinking about the rumor mill for this year, talking about the iPhone getting a pill-shaped cutout, I stated in a lot of videos, and I was actually wrong about this. I said, putting a pill shape up there isn't going to change the way you use your phone. It's going to be the same as a notch. You're still just going to have all the status icons up there. The display space in that area won't be usable. And if Apple went with just a cutout and didn't implement the dynamic island feature, I would have been right. But I was wrong because they chose to really beautifully implement hardware and software together to bring us this new dynamic island feature where you can almost kind of get, I kind of describe it almost like, it looks like a small multitasking area on the top of your phone where you can switch between apps or where you can press into it to get different quick actions into apps. And that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. It's almost like its own separate little multitasking area and also an area to show you different status icons like timers or battery life and stuff like that. So with that dynamic island feature on the 14 Pro, I was almost wondering, would it be worse on a screen that is smaller? This is kind of taking up display area by showing you different things, and would having a bigger display help more clearly see the information that is going to be displayed in that dynamic island? And I kind of thought, yeah, obviously it would. If Apple has more screen real estate to kind of stretch that bar around on the dynamic island, I feel like it would be a better experience on the bigger phone models this year. So that's really something I'm definitely interested to test in my review to see how does this dynamic island feature look on these bigger phones. Now, my concerns with this phone are pretty easy to go over. I don't really have any concerns feature-wise with the phone. I'm sure it's just going to be like an improvement over the 13 Pro, or the 13 Pro Max rather. But my big concern really is just weight and size. I feel like this 13 Pro is already kind of heavy. I kind of almost wish they made just like an aluminum version of the Pro. It's a very dense phone. So for the 14 Pro Max, I don't want that extra added weight. I think that's something I'm really not gonna like about that phone. And then the size is a big issue. I really kind of like the middle ground size of this phone. I personally would have loved a mini Pro phone. Like if that existed, I think I would buy that. So the 14 Pro Max is it's gonna be a massive phone. I'm really not used to having a big size phone after these past 2 years. So going back to that might be a little bit tricky. I might end up regretting my decision if it just feels too big. Like I hate that feeling sometimes of like you're wearing like pants, you put the phone in your pocket. It just feels like a brick in there. And I'm not looking forward to returning to that lifestyle, but I'm gonna try and make it work, I guess. And I know that's first world problems. Listen, all this stuff I'm talking about, it's first world problems. You're watching a video on an iPhone. That is the first world, right? Like our concerns aren't that great, but yeah, you like when I walk you through my purchasing decisions, and maybe you're thinking the same thing I am. Like, hey, should I get a Pro? Should I get a Pro Max? I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll walk you through the exact configuration I ordered as well. So I got the iPhone 14 Pro Max in the deep purple color. Figured new color, why not? Based on the photos and some of the videos I've seen, I actually don't think I'm gonna like that color as much as I like this Sierra Blue. This was a really nice color. But hey, new color, I'm gonna go with it. Just change it up a little bit. And I also got the 512 gigabyte configuration. Normally, on this phone, I got the 256 gigabyte configuration. I've been getting that for a while now, but I really wanted to go 512 this year because I felt like I would need the extra storage space if I plan to utilize any of the Pro camera features. So if I'm gonna take a 48 megapixel Pro RAW photo, I feel like that's gonna take up a lot of storage space. And then if I'm planning to shoot more videos on this for my channel, well, obviously that is also going to chew through a ton of storage space. So that's what I went with, the iPhone 14 Pro Max 512 gigabytes. And those are my reasons why I bought this phone. Let me know in the comments below though, was this video helpful? I do this every year. It seems like a lot of people like this video. I always get the people in the comments going, why'd you make this video? It was pointless, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed this iPhone season, enjoyed sharing my thoughts with all of you. And at this point, I can't wait to get my hands on these phones. I'm a lot more hyped for them than I thought I would be. That dynamic island, it really stole the show for me. So let me know in the comments below. Did you order an iPhone 14 today? Which iPhone 14 model did you pick up? And let me know the reasons why you picked one model over another model. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, wait. I forgot to mention. I accidentally ordered another phone. A regular iPhone 14 Pro. I wonder what I'll do with that. I wonder what I'll do with that extra phone. Maybe you should subscribe. Maybe you should subscribe. You might find out what I do with that phone. If you subscribe. You might find out. Oh, bye.